purpose of this tutorial is to demonstrate how an extension and plugin for Joomla works. The extension and plugin is JotCache. Basically what JotCache does is sort of reduce the repetitive action that has to be done every time someone visits a page on a Joomla site. So it's a caching program, and instead of constantly, every time a page needs to be reloaded or someone visits a page, it will actually look for the image that it saved for that page. So here we are at the cybersalt.org web page, and I'm viewing the home page. I'm just going to select that URL and return, and that loaded quite quickly. Normally, when you click on a link in Joomla, it will try to fulfill the role that each link is described to do. So for instance, if I click on this entertainment link, it's going to run through all the settings in the menu, and it's going to check the database, and it's going to pull all kinds of information together and crank it all together and compile it, and that can take a little while, and then it shows the page that you want it to see. So you notice that took a little while for that to come up. Now if I just hit the refresh of that same page, it's going to come up much faster, because JotCache, the first time I looked for that page, it saw all of the final code, the results of all the database action and the calling of all the code, and instead of going through the whole process again, JotCache just took a picture of the last bit of code and basically is caching it. It's holding that picture of it, that memory of that page, for as long as I have JotCache to remember it. That means that if someone else comes along and clicks on this exact same link, instead of going through all the calculations and everything all over again, JotCache is basically going to say, hey, I've got a picture of that page and it hasn't expired yet, so I'll just send that, and that's going to be a lot faster. Now, in the case of you as a site owner going to work on your own site, you need to understand how JotCache works, because otherwise some mysterious things can start to happen and you're frustrated and maybe mad, or whatever you do when you get frustrated. Maybe you will just curl up and go to sleep, or you will go and get some ice cream. Who knows what you do, but you want to be working on your site and you don't want it to be frustrating. So I'm going to click here on the home page of the CyberSalt site, and now just to show you what happens. Now I know that JotCache is on because I've turned it on, and I'll show you later on to how to find whether or not JotCache is currently running on your site or if it's shut off. But what I want you to look at here is the title of this article. It's not my father's world anymore. Now this is on the front page. It's set to be a featured article. I use the term featured because it's this is a Joomla 2.5 site, and it's there on the front page. I've already logged into the back end of Joomla of this site here, and because I know that's an article that's assigned to the front page, I'm going to go to Content, Featured Articles. Now the wording might be slightly different, but we're not in Joomla 1.5, but we're not even talking about featured articles. I just want to find that article. So when I click Featured Articles, it's going to bring up a list of the articles I've set to appear on the front page. And there's that one there. Look, it's the title. It's not my father's world anymore. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to go in. Let's suppose that I saw that there's a spelling mistake in this article, and I wanted to correct the title. I'd spelled the title wrong. So really what I wanted it to say was, it's not my father's world anymore. And we'll put in a big way and an exclamation mark. Alright, so I've changed the title, and I'm just going to go save with that new title. Now I'll wait till that saves there. Now I'm going to go back to the front page, and I'm going to refresh it. Now we would expect it to be, we would expect to say, it's not my father's world anymore in a big way, exclamation mark. But watch what happens when I refresh. When I refresh, there is no change, because JotCache is on, and it's not paying attention to any changes that I made to that article, because it's set to serve up a picture of the page for as long as I've set that cache to last. Now on my site, I set it to last 12 hours because I don't do a lot of changes during the day, and that develops a very large collection of pictures of pages and makes my site run very fast. If your site changes content often, maybe you want to set the cache to be for 15 minutes. And we could talk about in another tutorial, or you could explore JotCache once you see how to navigate through to areas. Anyways, my point right now is that It's Not My Father's World Anymore remains the title, and that is because JotCache is on. So let's go back into the back end of the Joomla site just to save clicking around. I'm going to leave this article open. I have another tab ready here, and it's already showing Plugin Manager plugins. And I got there by doing this. I went up to Extensions and Plugin Manager. And that will bring up the same list of the page that I'm on right now. In order to quickly find the JotCache plugin to see if it's on, just go to Filter and filter for plugins that have JOT in them. Search for them. It will filter, and there's JotCache. And we see over here in the status that it's on. Now if I click that green check mark, it's going to disable the plugin just like the hint says. Watch what happens when I do that. I disable the plugin. It's off. Now I go back to the home page and I'm going to refresh. Now it's going to take this page a little while longer to serve up, but now because JotCache is off, now it's actually looking in the database for the most current information. It's not using the picture or the cached page, the cached code that JotCache does. Now, so that means we end up seeing this full long title. Watch this, and this is the important thing an important thing to see. If we go back to JotCache plugin and turn that back on, go back to the CyberSalt homepage and refresh, this title is going to go back to the old one because it's still using the old cached version of that page. How long is that page? Well, I told you I have them set for 12 hours. If we go back to Plugin Manager and go to JotCache, instead of clicking on the status button, we'll go right into the plugin. And here in the plugin, you'll see the settings that I have for my site. And right under here, cache lifetime, the page cache lifetime is 720 minutes. 720 minutes, which is 12 hours. So right now, it's 4:39 p.m. in the afternoon. As long as I leave JotCache on, it's going to serve up that memorized or that cached front page for 12 hours, all the way to 4:39 a.m. 12 hours later. Now, if I were to set this to 60, basically what that will do is each page, it'll just show the picture for 60 minutes. And then the next time someone calls for the home page, it means that a new page will be generated, a new picture that JotCache is going to use for 60 minutes. So if that's a place where you can set how long pages are cached. If you are putting news on your site and it's not that important, you don't care if somebody sees it for 60 minutes, you don't even have to turn JotCache off. Just go in, add news, and in 60 minutes you know for sure all your latest articles will be on. But if you want to put something on your website and have it ready immediately, well then you're going to have to do a little tricking around if you're using JotCache. Now JotCache, why we use JotCache? It's so that you can get the best performance out of your Joomla site, so that you can reduce some of the database calls and things that take place in the background when you're calling up a Joomla page. Joomla will run fast on a fast server, and just like anything will, but this will run even faster on a fast server, and we really want to keep our page load times as low as possible, as long as it's convenient. And for many people that I build sites for, they want the most speed that they can get, and JotCache is a tool, but it can get a little tricky and mess you up, because if you just changed an article title and it's not changing, you might think, what am I doing wrong? Why is this thing broken? It's not, it's just the JotCache feature. Now I'm just going to close this. I'm not going to save these changes that I made. I'm going to close that, And I just want you to show you the benefit of JotCache on speed. Now, I'm going to show you a report, a performance report on the cybersalt.org homepage that I've already run to have ready for this tutorial. I went to gtmetrics.com, and put in my URL for them to do a rating of speed on my site. And I did this with JotCache running. I did this just about an hour ago, but it will still be pretty current. Now, they give you lots of responses, lots of feedback on how you can make your site faster, and there's some things still, a few things I still need to do on my site to increase my score. But what I want you to see here is this timeline. So when I click on timeline, you'll see that at the get-go, to get all of the code that puts together my web page, that calls up my home page, in order to call everything else, it took 490 milliseconds to call up that page. And then after that, it had all of the code, so it could go ahead and start to get all these other items that it needs to draw the page, to present the page exactly like I want. So what I would just want you to see here is that with JotCache running, my CyberSalt homepage, this first step took 479 milliseconds. Right? Now, I'm going to do this. We'll go to JotCache and we're going to turn it off. And now I'm going to go back to GTmetrix and I'm going to retest this page. So remember, it was 479 milliseconds. Now I'm going to retest the page. This takes a little while. It's not always the total long time that that it takes for your page to load, because you have to wait for GTmetrix to do all their processing. So all the amount of time you wait here doesn't really mean much for having to load your file. Now you'll see that my page load time is 3.22 seconds. That's everything together. But if we go back to the timeline, now look at this first step to get the page is now 1.95 seconds. Before it was just around half of a second, and now it's 1.95 seconds. And that is because this initial page, Joomla had to draw all of it. It had to get it all. It went to the database. It checked everything. It didn't just look for the picture that JotCache had. No, it did the whole page over and over. Did the whole page over again. And anybody that goes to this page, or any page on the CyberSalt site right now, Joomla is not, JotCache is off. It's not looking at pictures of different things that are being captured. And so if we click on this History tab, you can see then here I've got lots of ups and downs over the recent days of my site as I played around with settings. But if I just select this little bit here, you'll see that the two tests that I did, here's the page load, the HTML download time. It went from 0.48 seconds to 1.95 seconds. Now this is not very much, and on a small site maybe it doesn't really matter, but on large sites with a lot of calculations and a lot of activity, we're talking 2-3 times longer for certain elements to be served. The same thing here. We've got the page load time. Page load time 1.63 seconds. That was for everything, not just calling for the code, but that was getting everything. And here it's 3.22 seconds. So a difference of almost twice as fast with JotCache as without. So let's see how this graph is affected by turning back JotCache on. First of all, we know JotCache is off, so that extra long title is going to show up. There it is. So let's go back in. We're at the plugin manager. We've filtered for JotCache already. Now I'm just going to turn that on. Turn JotCache on. Now it's back on. I'm going to go back to the GTmetrix page, and I'm going to say retest the CyberSalt page. watch this scan. And just about have the results. And now the page load time is back to 1.76 seconds. Let's look at timeline. Once again, now for this first part, calling for all the code, is back to 467 milliseconds, under half a second. And let's go back and check that chart for this page load times. I'm going to select that. Select that. We'll make this even just a little bit more isolated. Look, so this was the page load with JotCache running, 1.63 seconds. This was the page load without, 3.22. We turned it back on, and there's the page load, 1.76 seconds. Same thing here with the HTML download time, 0.48 seconds. JotCache turned off, 1.95 seconds. JotCache turned on, 0.47 seconds. So you can see that by using JotCache, by having it on, you can really speed up the load of how much information is, how fast your page will download and appear. If you have a larger site with a more complicated front page, because on the CyberSalt site I've removed many of the things that get called. I don't have any social media buttons just on the home page. They're all available once you click read more in the articles. I've kind of slimmed it down so this first page loads quickly and gives a good bump. Now we know that it's not my father's world anymore in a big way is the current title, but since we've turned JotCache back on, as I refresh the page, that's going to disappear. Now does that mean that I have to wait 12 hours, because that's the time I have JotCache sent for, before the title will actually show up? Or what can I do to make that to show up? I've got a couple of options here, and this is going to be a little bit extreme because I've got a lot of pages on my site, so a lot of them are cached. If we go back into the control panel, admin area of Joomla, instead of going to extensions and plugin manager in order to bring up JotCache, look at components and then JotCache. When I click on there, it brings up a list of all of the pages that have been cached. So for instance, this article here, WWJV, Whom Would Jesus Vote For? It was created September 12th at 8:38:24 in the morning. Here's just every page that JotCache is cached and is calling to right now is listed here. Now this is a large site, so when I go down to the bottom, it's showing 100 links at a time, and this is one page of 15. So basically, what we've got happening here is that right now I have 1,500 pages that are cached in JotCache, and they're getting filtered and cycled through in over a period of 12 hours, as I said. If I want this article to show up with the proper title, I have the option of going through each one of these pages, selecting every cached item, and then just deleting it. But the thing is I'll have to do that step 15 times. And that will wipe out all of the other pages that haven't been changed, and that means they're just going to have to be recalled. And if that's what's necessary, sometimes I do that. But I can also filter out in this database the page title. Now I know that the page title of my home page is this on this tab, the CyberSalt site. Maybe in your browser it shows up in a blue area up in the top bar. So if I type in the CyberSalt site to filter and click go, it will show me all of the pages that have that title. Now in this case I want to delete the featured ones. This one, CyberSalt site com ACY mailing, that's not my front page, but these three links are my front page. The view is featured, featured, featured. So that's featured or front page. Now you might ask, why are there three versions of that page? If you look over to the far right corner, you'll see there's a version for Firefox, there's a version for Chrome, and there's an anonymous one. So basically, JotCache offers the option to cache a version of each page according to the browser that the person is using. Now I'm using Chrome, so watch this. If I delete the CyberSalt site cache page that is for Firefox, so I click that box and delete it, and go up to the home page and refresh it, I still don't get that long title. But if I go to the CyberSalt site for Chrome and delete it, once it disappears, now when I go up here and I refresh this page, JotCache will look for, do I have a cached page for the CyberSalt, the home page, for Chrome? And when it finds that it's not there because I've just deleted it, it will regenerate it with the most current information. Now, when I refresh, there's the title, the big long title. And now, if I go back and look at JotCache component and I refresh this view, you'll see now there's a new page for Chrome browsers. And for the next 12 hours, that is the page that will be served up. So if I want that CyberSalt page to have all of its changes, then I just will be the latest version for all browsers. I delete each box that shows that name. And now anybody that goes to the CyberSalt site is going to see this page, this title. They won't know whether it's originally coming or generated, or else, or if it's just from a JotCache, from a cache view. But we know now because we visit it for the next 12 hours. Anyone that visits using a Chrome browser, this is the page they're going to see. Even if I go back here, it's not my father's world anymore. Let's take out the in a big way. I save that. Now I fixed the title to what it was before. Now when I refresh this page though, because JotCache is running, it won't show the proper thing. It's showing the cached picture from before the change I just made. So once again, I go here. I want to view all pages that have the CyberSalt site. And there it is, the Chrome one. I delete it. Say I don't want that picture anymore. Okay. Go back to the home page. Refresh. And now the title is proper. Now, just if you're working on your own site, or when I'm working on a site, let's suppose that I added a menu to this menu bar. For instance, I need to move this community link up underneath something so it fits better. It's a little to-do project I've got. But if I were to add a link or change the spelling of this link, there's a good chance that that spelling change won't show up because it's cached in the page. But that's part of every page. In which case, once I made that change, if I wanted it to show up right away, I would reset this filter, and then I would go through page by page, selecting all pages, and then I would, one page at a time, selecting them all. I would delete them until the cache was entirely cleared. Now that's a pretty laborious project, and it takes time, but you're not going to be changing the whole design of your site that much once you get it set up and you're just putting content on it. They're working on a new version of JotCache, and I'm hoping that in their new version they actually have a button that will just purge the whole cache in one step, because otherwise it's really hard to just to clear out all of the cache when you want to. Other than that, unless you turn off the cache, and if you turn it off, if I turned it off, I have to turn it off for 12 hours before everything had expired. and there's some other ways to experiment. But basically, just the reason that I've given you this tutorial is that if you're using JotCache on your site for speed, and I think it's a great tool and I highly recommend it, when you go to change your content, you have to keep in mind how JotCache works and some of the things you might have to change. So if you add new content, or if you add content, if I were to add a new article to the front page, I would want to go into the cache management and delete the old picture, the old cache version of that front page. And it does add some steps. It does add some steps to updating your site. It does add a bit of complexity to working on your site. But having said that, the speed benefits are great, and the faster your pages serve, the more people will like your site and are more likely to return to it or view other pages on it. And it's just a workaround. If you've got any questions about JotCache or anything you're curious about, by all means, send me an email, webmaster@cybersalt.org, and if you don't want to use JotCache, no problem, because your site will still work. But if you want to get a little edge and speed, and this is a great tool for it, as long as you don't mind accommodating learning this JotCache. And that's why I made this tutorial, so you can watch it over and over and over again and get it figured out. And again, if you need any help, webmaster@cybersalt.org, and you can book some time and have a meeting online or in person, and get you taking advantage of this powerful tool for Joomla. Thanks for watching, and hope this helps in a great way.